You're listening to nothing important.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's a special. As a 21-year-old kid making that song, I would never have believed anybody would have done that. But thank you for doing it anyway.
Oh, you're welcome. It was so fun. We literally crumpled up paper as if we wrote it and read it. It was really fun.
Brilliant. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you.
Aw, have a great night. Thanks for being on their shenanigans. I normally roll my eyes, but I have to admit it is pretty cool that you're on it tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please enjoy the show.
That's great. That works.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nothing Important Podcast. My name is Bryan, and with me, as always, is Crumbopolis Dave. Dave, how's it going?
Bumble fumblicious evening to you, my friend.
Lame.
What the hell are you talking about? What is that?
I gave you a homework assignment, and you kind of watched some Rick and Morty with me. In Rick and Morty, there's an assassin that just loves killing. He's a very jolly assassin. He's like, I'll kill old people, children, doesn't matter. I just love killing. And his name is Crumbopolis Michael.
Okay. I remember Mr. Meeseeks.
He's like, no, really, I have no ethics. So anyway, so that's part of your homework assignment, Dave. I am super excited about
You sound like you're
today's phone
talking
call.
fast as shit.
I know. I just have a lot going on. I'm trying to see. This is the kind of guest where there's actually going to be people listening in on the phone just for the fact that we're calling this guest. And one of those folks is going to be my wife, Kristen, and she's going to be listening on the phone because we are talking to Rick Astley. And a lot of people know Rick Astley. Well, here in America, know Rick Astley as the Rick-rolled Never Gonna Give You Up guy.
Right, yeah.
Right? But overseas, in Europe and such, he was retired for about 15 years, but he actually has a pretty decent amount of albums that he's released. He's sold over 40 million albums. He recently came out with his new album 50. And as I was just perusing YouTube, a Rick Astley video came up, and my first thoughts was, wow, that guy has matured like in such a way. He doesn't look like an old version of him. He just looks like him older, if that makes sense.
No, because him older would be an old version of him. Like, he hasn't broken down. He still looks youthful and healthy, and he looks like he's enjoying what he's doing. And maybe that's part of his extended hiatus. The industry hasn't worn him down like people of his age usually.
Right. See, I would say like old version of him would be like a guy that was like all jolly and hunched over and like orange groves, like like that kind of. But he just looks like an older, more mature him. That we all know from, getting Rickrolled with the "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Yeah. I wonder
song.
if that was a thing in the European areas, because he was in on it around here, and he even did some jokes around here. And I don't want to ask him that because it's so old and over. But
right, you know what? But there's also a part of me that wants to ask him that, because did that get him out of retirement? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, did they have a factor? Because it kind of put him back into the spotlight, and it was also one of them weird memes where it wasn't mean-spirited towards him. It just kind of started as, it was funny because it was an infectious, good song.
Right.
And then once people heard the song, it got stuck in their heads. It wasn't like one of these memes where it was like unfavorable to him. It was just using him because he was so good that it just kind of blew up. It was funny, like, oh, click this link to see my my review of the latest Star Wars movie, and
then bam, here's
Astley.
an earworm for you.
Right, exactly. But I don't think that's a negative thing at all. And like I said, I don't think that whole thing was mean-spirited by any means.
Right. The only negative thing is apparently he made $12 off that whole thing, of all the times it got played with the way his percentage worked out and what was the actual official video. He made a whopping $12 off of all that, I guess, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, see, that's the thing too, is I don't think people, I think people think that YouTube people that make money off YouTube views make way more money than they actually do. So like you and I've had songs on radios, obviously not any hits, but people are like, well, how much song did you make off the radio? And then I always have to explain them. Even people whose song is all over the radio makes very minimal money off the radio because they'll only make like 1 penny for every 5 times that the song is played on a certain radio station.
Unless they hold the publisher.
Well, yeah, and it has to do with who wrote the song, not just the performer. You know, who actually is the songwriter.
It's who owns the publishing.
Did any of
who
the
owns
other
the
stuff
right-
behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's a bummer. He only made $12, but I mean, then again, it might have revitalized his career, and if it didn't revitalize his career personally, it definitely put him back in the public conscious. Like, we're going to talk to him. He's going on his first American tour since 1989,
Right.
And I guarantee a lot of people in the audience are going specifically because they've been rickrolled.
That probably does have something to do with it, I'm sure. Yes.
So it's well earned success. But anyway, my wife, she's going to try to jump on the phone. I don't think she'll talk so much because she doesn't like the whole idea of talking on the microphone. But when we got married, we used Rick Astley's lyrics to "Never Gonna Give You Up" as our actual wedding vows. And this is a rare opportunity to where you could do something like that as a fun thing and then actually talk to the person who inspired it. Like, does that make sense?
If anything,
If we can get
yeah,
technical.
'cause if anything, it's like actually being able to speak to God or Jesus.
Well,
everyone else.
I wouldn't. I'm gonna get a little semantic-y here, but you're actually talking to, like, I guess more so Jesus or a prophet, because he didn't write that song, so those aren't his lyrics.
Actually, that's a very great analogy, Dave.
It's his performance of said lyrics that inspired you to use them, though. So he's not responsible, but not directly responsible. He's not the creationist. He's not the prime mover.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say. I guess what I'm trying to say is that going on 7 years ago now, when my wife and I got married in the cigar bar of a Carnival cruise ship, and we used the lyrics to Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up" as our vows to each other, I never thought that one day I would actually be on the phone with the man himself and then have the opportunity to tell him that we used his vows as part of our wedding ceremony.
Okay, quit being shitty. Now I hope that he just demands royalties from you for using unauthorized reproduction of his lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna ask you to send him $50,
It's like 12
like
cents,
right away.
which is more than he made off YouTube off being a Rickroll.
Yeah, exactly. So that's gonna lead him to start shaking people down for everyone else who's done the same thing,
And he's never going to
and
give
it's
up.
gonna
give
become
up
a
on
whole
it either.
thing. Yeah.
Never
Right.
going to shake you
Yeah.
down.
And for those of you listening, while we're waiting for Rick Astley and his people to give us a call, Jeff, how are you doing this afternoon? You're in Washington, D.C., and you're joining us by telephone.
I am. Yeah, I'm in Washington, D.C. I can see the Pentagon and the Washington Monument out of my hotel window right now.
Well, what's awesome, too, is that the timing couldn't be more perfect for Jeff to be in Washington, D.C., because I'm actually going to be in Washington, D.C. next week for the Trumpster's inauguration.
That's funny because you guys are going to be in D.C.
I was excited not to be here for work.
You were excited not to be there? Like during the
Yes.
inauguration?
Yes, because of what a presumable shit show it's going to be, just as far as security and traffic and everything else. I'm not even talking about anything political. I'm just
The
saying
logistical
it's
nightmare?
going to be a logistical nightmare. I mean, because we are in Arlington, which is right outside, where they also have the what's it called? Cemetery, for all the dead people.
Right.
But when we come in from Reagan Airport, we also get to see all of the monuments and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, we're right here. I cannot imagine, with the traffic that I've already had to deal with just coming from the airport and getting to here, what it will be like on the 19th, 20th, and 21st.
Yeah, it's going to be an experience for sure, but it's one of those things. We wrote our congressman just as a kind of, you guys know me, I'm very like, well, let's just try it and see what happens kind of guy, right?
Right.
And that's exactly how this ended up was my wife and I were just talking about it, and I was like, well, you can go there to the National Mall and you can watch the inauguration because it's a public event for, like our new, love him or hate him commander-in-chief. Like anybody can go. But to get the seats up front, you have to get a ticket from your representative or your congressman. And December 23rd, I got an email, and letting us know that we got tickets. So I was telling my wife, I'm like, well, we have to go. And my wife and I aren't even like overtly political. We're just like, for us, it's just like, well, what are the chances that that's going to happen again? Right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
While I have you, Brian,
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
on your recommendation, I went and saw Moana the other day.
Yeah, how did you like that? I
yeah?
actually really enjoyed that movie.
I did. I enjoyed it because I don't know if we've discussed this on the podcast. Brian and Jeff and myself have a thing going back to 2001 about forced love interests in movies or any love interest in a movie. And that was one of the first things Brian mentioned. There is no genuine love interest in this movie. And the songs are not half bad. They're kind of poppier than I think a lot. Well, I don't know. I guess Disney songs are always pretty poppy. But I thought it was great. I thought it was very entertaining.
Yeah, the only thing I really didn't like about it was, like whenever, especially animation, whenever they have a big name person in the show, they always want to give nods to the audience that person is playing a character.
Yes.
Who also starred in something that you knew that they were in. You follow me?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
In Moana, there's like this really weird, like 2-second clip when the Rock is getting ready to sing his song as Maui, where he does the eyebrow raise thing, and it totally feels like they just couldn't find anywhere else in the movie to put that in, so they just like stuck it in, like that 2-second where the music was building up, and it like really like it was like almost jarring, like how out of place that felt in context to everything that was going around.
Right. It's like when Brian enters a podcast thinking, I want to use the phrase "fool me once, shame on me." See, I fucked it up. No, but that I was reading up on a lot of like some details and trivia and stuff, and it mentions specifically they put the eyebrow thing in there and his peck bounce, because I guess he did it in another Disney movie. He does his little peck bounce, so he was like bouncing the tattoo back and forth.
Right, yeah.
Which, by the way, is a hybrid. I guess the tattoos are hand drawn on a computer drawn background, which is kind of a cool tidbit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool nod to the way that those Islander tattoos actually get done.
Yeah. They really wanted to be authentic, I guess, with the Polynesian stuff. All the actors were Polynesian. Troy Polamalu was one of the actors in that movie, which is hilarious.
Really?
Brian probably.
Okay.
Yeah. He's that safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He did all the Pert Plus commercials with the crazy hair.
No, I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, he's got super long hair, and he.
Yes, I do. I know who you're talking about.
He's Polynesian.
Okay.
So they gave him a part in the movie.
Yeah, way cool. Yeah, it was really well done, and I kind of like it because, for all intents and purposes, Moana's kind of like a superhero. Like she goes on an epic adventure. She has some sort of like a spiritual relationship with the ocean and such, as she's running around with like God. So it was cool because she was just kind of her own superhero. And while my daughter is very, very much so into princesses, particularly the Little Mermaid, Rapunzel, and Belle from Beauty and the Beast, she is absolutely infatuated lately with Moana, and I like that because my sperm are worthless and can't make boys. So I got the next best thing, I guess, girls. Although I suppose
there's still time for that to change, Brian.
One of them could probably turn out to be a lesbian, so you take the good with the bad, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Positives.
Right. Yeah.
Positives. Daughter-in-law.
Right. We wife and I, we were discussing that because fundamentally, I don't have any issues with anybody that's gay or anything like that. I just can't identify with it because I'm not. And my wife and I were talking about that, and I was like, well, what would you do if one of our daughters came out to us and said that she was gay? And my wife said, I don't know. I guess we'd have to cross that bridge when we got there, kind of. And she said, well, how would you react? And my first reaction was no sleepovers. like I feel, I felt like, because then, especially having a girl, then you cover, or I guess if you had like a gay kid, you'd have to cover all bases.
Let's say, yeah,
at that point,
there's no boys because they could force things,
right?
And no girls.
It's still
because
inappropriate to
your daughter
have
may
little
force
boys, right? Yeah. so I guess it would be
that would be hilarious.
It would be a sleepover-less childhood for any of my hypothetically gay children.
So speaking of family taboos, look into Maui. His history. Holy fuck.
Are we still on Moana?
What's that?
Are we still in Moana?
I wanted to shoehorn that into the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was really good. The Rock's, another funny thing about the Rock song is...
No, I was talking about the demigod. The actual legends behind the demigod of Maui. Pretty fucked up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like somebody created a woman out of the earth and had sex with it and then married the daughter.
Till old as time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think that's
Japan's doing that right now with real sex dolls. So
the iBabe?
Yeah.
it's like the same thing.
I will say, and not to be a dead horse, I will say, though, that the food orgy in Moana was stellar.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, as soon as they put the heart back and all the food started growing again, they celebrated with a massive gangbang. Yeah.
Right, And what I like about it is...
Well, how else does one celebrate?
Is our podcast
how
on
else
a lunch
does one
break
celebrate?
now?
I'm walking through the hotel. I have my laptop open, and I'm staring at it, and I'm just walking through the hotel.
Walk up to somebody right now in their face and be like, I am podcasting right now. Be quiet.
Hey, guys. I'm on a podcast right now. We're recording. I just wanted to say hey.
Hello.
So,
How are you?
yeah.
Hey.
Talking to that one.
What are you doing?
What are you guys' names?
Brian.
Brian?
Missy? From
Missy?
Miami.
From Miami?
Yes.
Missy from New Jersey?
We're from Chicago. So,
I went to Northwestern.
Oh, you went to Northwestern? That's
for my
crazy.
residency in 83 to 86.
Nice.
The Bears won the Super Bowl during
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice.
And I learned the best medicine of my life in Northwestern.
Well, cool.
Yes.
All right. I'm just walking around. So, yeah, just saying hi.
Tell him you're waiting for Rick Astley to call in.
I work. We're actually waiting for Rick Astley to call us.
Who's Rick Astley?
Oh my God. You should change yourself. Rick Astley?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Who's
He's awesome.
From
You're goddamn right he
he
is.
had a couple of hit songs in the 80s.
From the 80s.
He was awesome.
Put a song on.
Put a song. Oh my God. He looks like the skinniest little red-headed kid, and he has the deepest, coolest voice.
Yes, he does. Those are all true statements.
Yes.
Having a cigarette?
Yes.
This is our new segment, Jeff on
I'm
the
the
streets.
cardiologist smoking cigarettes. by the way.
Why not?
When
This
in
is
Rome.
awesome.
When in Rome.
You had
Rick
to.
Astley is
yeah.
the coolest.
I'm sure I know his songs.
You do.
Oh, you absolutely know.
Definitely do.
Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Yes.
There you go. There.
Yes.
Now I know.
Yes, that. Sorry, the Wi-Fi's not connecting for me right now.
That's fine. I know the song.
But yeah.
Uh-huh. Two of them have very low voices,
Oh yeah.
and they can only sing Rick Astley songs.
That's a fun karaoke stand.
Tell her
It
to
is
ask her
amazing.
to ask her to
They've got
name
some
two.
things locked in.
Ask her to name
Rick
two Rick
Astley
Astley songs.
Rick Astley songs.
Can you?
Are we
I'm getting a request. Can you name 2 Rick Astley songs?
Never Gonna Give You Up and
That one doesn't count. 2 more.
oh my God. Rick Astley was the bomb. And oh my God, it's like
It sounds almost exactly the same, so I understand if you don't understand.
No. He was the bomb. He was like so cool.
So cool.
He is so cool. There's
is
a
so
difference,
cool.
yeah. Well, his other hit song in the United States was "Together Forever and Ever."
Oh, of course I know that.
Forever, we two.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
All right, Jeff and Dave, we have the legendary Rick Astley on the phone.
Hi, Rick.
All right. Hi, Rick. How are
Thank
you?
so much.
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Great. Fantastic now that we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a little bit of an adventure getting a hold of you, Rick. We're super excited to speak with you, and so I guess I'm going to get right to it. First, I guess I have to start with this. Like many of your fans, I know you from the Never Gonna Give You Up days and stuff of early MTV and such. And my wife and I got married 6 years ago, and I have to grasp this opportunity to let you know that instead of our wedding vows, we actually used lyrics to "I'm Never Gonna Give You Up" to confirm our love for each other.
That is amazing. I am honoured. I'm honoured. I'm also slightly shocked, but I'm honoured is what I am.
No, it was well. We wanted to do something, super fun and different, and we weren't having like a really religious based ceremony, and we just thought it would be a fun touch, especially I'm sure like the Rick Rolling was going on and all that, but like we genuinely like the song, so we're like, this is what we're doing. And then I also have to tell you, about 4 months ago, my mother comes up to my wife and I just hanging out, and she says, I think about your guys' wedding, and I think about that beautiful poem you wrote for each other. And I said, poem? What the hell are you talking about? I've never written a poem in my life. And she was talking about our vows. So I just wanted to let you know that my mother thinks that your lyrics are the best poem that I ever wrote.
I mean, like I say, I'm in a state of shock, but I'm loving it. It's getting better and better, this story, to be honest. I love it. And I've got to meet your mum, I think. I definitely have to.
Well, you know what? If you ever come to Chicago, I'm sure we'll definitely go to your concert, and you should.
Let's do it. Listen, I have to come to Chicago, to be honest. It's one of those cities, I think, as a young kid growing up in Britain. There's certain cities in America, I think, that if you don't go to once in your life, you feel you're not going to have a fulfilled life. Obviously, New York's one of them, of course it is. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just, as we grew up as kids,
Sure.
we see it. But Chicago's right there as well. So, yeah, we've got to go there and do a gig for sure. So your mum is in the front row.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to see that. I would love to see that happen. I'd love to see you go to Chicago, but you're celebrating the release of your new album, 50, and you're doing your first tour in the United States since 1989. And I'm looking at the dates, and I don't see any Chicago date.
That's because it's cold and we're only playing in warm states. Other than, to be fair, I'll correct that. I will correct that. When we finish off by playing on the East Coast, so in other words, Washington, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, that's the last sort of 4 gigs that are going to be cold. The rest of it, I'm hoping, is going to be golf weather. I'm in Los Angeles right now, and I've got a lot of friends in America, to be honest, mainly on this West Coast, to be honest, because a lot of friends who came out here to try and make it as a songwriter, producer, all that kind of thing. And I've got some friends here, musician friends, and different people who work in, different industries as well. But I mean, mainly music. And yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time in America, to be honest. But this whole tour that we're doing right now, this bunch of dates over the next month or so it's been strategically planned for warm weather and a glass of rosé. That's what it's been planned around.
That's great.
Well, I hope you extend it past this current end date, or maybe do a second leg when it's summer here in the Midwest.
That's the idea. No, that is
all right.
That's the idea. We want to come back later in the year. To be honest, I've got quite a few gigs back in Europe when we get back from here, which is going to be great. It's going to be lovely to play back on the home turf, as it were, back in England and stuff. But the idea is to come back to the States and up into Canada as well, to be honest. Yeah, but listen, I know what kind of weather you guys get in the winter. And we actually all got on a conference call about it with our agent here and stuff. And we just said, look, there's no way we want to be schlepping around the North America, through January and February, because it's just, forget it. I've been up there at that time of year before. It is cold, man, so yeah,
We currently have a quarter of an inch of ice over everything in our area right now. We got hit by an ice storm last night.
Wow, man. That is, it's just crazy. It's crazy. Well, to be honest, I'm in Southern California, like I say, right now. It is pouring down. It's been, our daughter flew home yesterday. She's been over with us for a week or so. In fact, 2 weeks, actually. We came just before New Year, and she's had a break here with us, and she's 24. and her boyfriend came and what have you. And she's been to California before, you know, growing up as a kid with us and stuff. But I mean, it's just crazy. It's like this is, you know, I'm telling you, Albert Hammond wrote the song "It Never Rains in Southern California." Albert, you're wrong. You're wrong.
But when it pours, man, it pours.
Well, maybe you're bringing that rain from London because they had like a 2.5-year drought out there. They had like people couldn't water their lawns.
I know. Well, maybe they're going to have to start employing me in different parts of the world, Australia and places, to go and get some rain going. But yeah,
control that global warming.
Well, then you'll never come to Chicago because we get plenty of precipitation here as it is.
Okay. Well, listen, we can. Yeah, we'll have to put that on the back burner. No, I mean, like I say, we grew up in Britain, and I'm sure you've heard this from other people, and a lot of TV shows, obviously, but movies and stuff, and music as well. You know. That we're kind of influenced by, and we see growing up as kids. There's a definite fascination and an attraction with America for most of us, I think, because it's where the blues came from, it's where gospel came from, it's where soul came from. Let's face it. To be fair, and for me, growing up as a kid, there's so many places in America that I do, you know, really want to see. I've been around America a little bit, but it's always kind of. They're just on the radar, I think, because you kind of think that is where this actually happened. Do you know what I mean? And it's funny. Yeah.
So, have you ever been to the places where that kind of stuff actually started? You know, like your Memphis, you know, your Nashville, your areas.
I have. Yeah, we actually about 6 years ago, I did a drive from New York to LA with a friend of mine who's actually a documentary director.
Wow.
And we had this sort of a plan really to. We kind of made like a little, you call it like a little teaser where the idea is to go across America and go to towns that have had a song written about them and then try and find out why, you know, and find out, you know, who wrote that song, why. Did they actually even go to that town to write it? Do you know what I mean? Or were they sat, you know, in a studio in LA or New York or Chicago writing a song about, you know, the blues down south and do you know what I mean, or whatever?
Yeah.
So we drove across. So I went to Memphis on that trip actually, but just for a night and just down is it Beale or the Beale Street or whatever it is, and went down
Beale Street. Yeah.
I was in Nashville, funnily enough, at the end of last year because we came over to the States and up into Toronto as well, just to do like just a little couple of taster gigs really, just doing promo and stuff for the album and just to let people know I wasn't dead, to be honest. We went and did a little gig in Nashville. And I've not been there for like, you know, donkey's years, like you can't remember, 20 odd years. And to be honest, I was quite surprised. I mean, every taxi or Uber or whatever that we got in, they were all kind of saying that, you know, Nashville's changing an awful lot. And we can even feel that in the UK. We don't have a massive country thing there, but I mean, we do. Country records do cross over from Nashville. Do you know what I mean? As they do here, but they do over in Europe as well. So yeah, there's a few places that I've been to that, you know, and we're going to go to Atlanta on this trip as well. And obviously that's kind of a bit of even a modern day home for R&B, I think. You know what I mean? So
right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I know Dave, our co-host Dave here, is an audio engineer, and he actually has some questions about your process and your recording. And because the new album, you did everything yourself.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's all. And I listened to the album, and it sounds great. And
thank you.
My first question, honestly, is if you're willing to share, like, what's your favorite microphone to use? Because like your voice is so unique, and you're known for your vocal tone. So I was just kind of want to steal some of your tricks.
The crazy thing is, if I'm absolutely honest, I actually don't care what microphone I use.
Oh, nice.
There's a really good friend of mine. Well, I'll start from the very beginning. Years and years ago, towards the end of me kind of finishing that part of my career, really, back in the day, a keyboard player came to work with me, a guy called Andrew Frampton, who is now a big songwriter and a big producer. And he, at that time, he was like a higher keyboard player, if you like, you know, a session guy, great player. Became one of my best friends. And his brother is a studio engineer and mixer and all the rest of it. And he mixed my new record and he engineered with me and what have you. And he just brought a bunch of mics. And I mean, I've got a couple of mics at home, but I couldn't even tell you what they are, to be honest. They're just old mics that I've had for years. I don't really care. I don't get into we actually, at the very beginning of the process, I said to him, his name is Dan Frampton, and I kind of said, look, do you want to get a new signal path together? Do you want to buy some new gear? Because I had some, things that I've had for years, like a Uri compressor and different stuff and everything. And I said, should we just get some new things? Just because I'm sure you know what it's like. Every now and again, you need to buy a new toy just to get you in the mood. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, inspiration.
Sure.
Yeah, and he's got bunches of different mics. And to be honest, we just kind of split one up and we had a listen to it. And I said, that's good for me. He said, that's good for me. Let's work with that. And that's what we did.
Cool.
I don't, because partly on that subject, I actually said to myself last January when I really started getting my act together to make this record, I said to myself, I'm just going to make a very simple setup. I'm going to have that bass guitar, I've got a Fender Jazz, and that's the only bass I'm going to use. I've got several different, electrics, a couple of acoustics, but I kind of got the ones, my favourites, and said, those are the guitars I'm going to use. I've got a couple of different drum kits, but a lot of it's just programmed, to be honest, and there's a bit of real mixed in.
Nice.
I've got an old piano that my wife bought from me years and years and years ago, which is slightly out of tune, but I love it like that. And I just said, that's my palette, that's my colours, that's what I'm going to make the record with.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm sure you're familiar with Logic. I just said, I'm going to do everything in Logic. I mean, Dan mixed it, obviously, afterwards, and, he takes it into Pro Tools, but I just said, this is what I'm going to work with. I'm not going to get into using a million different sounds and all the rest of it. I'm going to do it a little bit like I used to when I was a kid, when I went into a 4-track demo studio and said, that's what's available, well, that's what I'm going to make this noise with. And that's kind of what I did, to be honest.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's truly just an extension of you. It's the tones that you like, and you kind of just kept it simple. And I guess that does show. That now that you're saying that, it's like it's a very personal record for you, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and also to be honest, because I've been in studios with great producers over the years, and some of my friends, like I say, are pretty hot writers and producers and all the rest of it. And the truth of it is, I know for a fact that I've heard stories of people say, like, Bono's put vocals down on a handheld SM58 mic, which you would use on any stage or any bar, or any pub around the world. And at the end of the day, if you've got enough of a voice and you've got the right song and you've got the wallet, you can make it work. Do you know what I mean? It isn't actually about the equipment. The equipment it excites you, gets you going. It sometimes gives you a bit of a kick in the pants to make something, At the end of the day, kids are making records in the bedrooms that are crossing over on Spotify and making it work. And I think I try to just keep that in mind, that even though, yes, I can afford to go out and buy loads of this, that, and the other, I just said, no, I'm going to make a record in my little studio at home, and it's going to be a bit more of a work of passion from me that just comes out of that room. Do you know what I mean?
So it's more of you'd rather have a rough diamond than a polished piece of coal. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, yeah, exactly. And also, to be honest, I think it's just that thing sometimes where you think, I played all the instruments, and I am not a musician. There is no way I would stand up in we were in Nashville, as I say, a little while ago. I mean, I would be terrified to get on stage there and pretend I was a musician. I have no problem getting up and singing, and I play a bit of drums, so I'll do that. But I'm not going to get on the guitar in Nashville. Forget that. That's not going to come close. Because there's 50 guys in that room. Who, do you know what I mean? So, but in terms of being in my little studio in a dark room, given enough time, I can make it sound like I can play, and that's what that's been part of the joy of it. To be honest, is to just keep working at it until it sounds okay.
That's great, because I literally do that on this podcast. We have a segment where I cover songs, and I'll do the entire productions by myself in the studio. So I totally get that aspect of
it. So like when you're making an album and doing stuff like that, and the vocals don't matter, or the equipment and stuff doesn't matter, you've done like 16 or 18 cover songs of other people's work. How do you choose that? Is it all based on just what you like or what you think you can hit as far as notes go, or?
Well, yeah, I did a covers record like 10 years or more ago, whatever it was, I can't remember. And I think to be honest, a lot of the time that's just been about songs that kind of are fun when you're jamming them around. We actually made that record with human beings, and we all got in a room and recorded it that way, if you know what I mean. And I think we basically, I came over to America to do that record, actually, and we just jammed songs until we felt they kind of sounded fun, you know. I think covers records, let's face it, that on the one hand, they're the most difficult thing in the world because you're going to destroy someone's favourite song. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, okay.
From my point of view, from the artist's point of view, whatever, I think you have to do it from a sort of like, look, it's just a bit of fun. Perhaps I haven't got the balls to make my own record right now, or the feeling to make my own record, but I still want to get in the studio and have a bit of fun and do something. And I think you just then pick a lot of songs that you think you can get away with singing, or that you feel, because to be honest, there's probably been a handful of covers done in the world that are better than the original. Let's face it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It's very rare that happens. It does happen, and when it happens, it's magical.
Yes.
But usually you're kind of treading on toes, and you kind of, you know. So for me, it was more of a. To be honest, it was a bit like exercising ghosts a little bit. It was kind of saying, well, you know, it's a way of getting into recording and music again, because I hadn't made a record before that for a long time.
Right.
And just having a bit of fun with it and saying, look, it's not like bearing your soul, because I think that's what you do when you write. Like, songs on this new record are quite personal to me, and the lyrics and talking about family things when I was a kid and stuff like that. And that's way more personal. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
When you're doing other
Sure.
people's
Yeah,
songs,
absolutely.
I think it's more of a joy thing to do. It's more of a fun thing to do, and just don't be too precious about it in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because you're never going to match the original. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know, I remember on my first album, because I'd done obviously Never Gonna Give You Up, Together Forever, songs like that, really pop on the nail songs.
Mm-hmm.
The guys who produced it, they wanted me to do, and so we ended up doing a cover of Nat King Cole's When I Fall in Love. And to be honest, let's face it, I murdered it. I was a 20-year-old kid. You know, he's one of the greatest singers. He's one of the greatest singers that's ever lived. But
Right.
I think they just wanted to show people that I had the possibility or the potential to sing something else at some point in my life.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And you know, and I've grown, to be honest, to really enjoy singing that song live, because it's an amazing song anyway. And like I say, he's an amazing vocalist. No one's going to get, he's a bit like a Sinatra. No one's going to ever get near him.
Mm.
But I think I still think from a joy of doing it sort of perspective, it's still nice to do things like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Is there
Absolutely.
I was saying, is there anybody that's covered one of your songs that you think is better, or like that's really just impressed you and blown you away?
To be honest, I haven't really heard many, and I think that, you know, if someone's going to do, let's say, Never Gonna Give You Up or something like that it's a bit of a tough one to do, because it's so there's a kind of like I'm not saying that you can't cover songs from certain periods.
I was gonna say, is it too in the moment for the time that it came out or something?
Well, for me, again, I think especially Never Gonna Give You Up, let's say, that it is locked in a moment in some ways, and it certainly is in my mind and in my heart, I think. But also, I think because of the Rick rolling thing and the kind of, you know, the little bubble it's had on the internet and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be a bit tricky to cover that one, I think, right now. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I'd make it forever, because it's like, it's sort of taken on a life of its own, really. Someone, actually, funnily enough, a guy, my wife is Danish, and a guy in Denmark, he covered a song of mine called Cry for Help, which is it's a ballady sort of song, and it's got a gospel choir on it. And I actually ended up singing it with him. I did a duet with him on his record, and that was a really fun thing to do, because I really like his voice as well, and it was just a fun thing to do. But I think sometimes, like I say, cover versions is so difficult.
Right, yeah.
There's only been a few, I think, that people do, and you think, that's actually better than the original. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We kind of fall in love with the way that people have done songs, don't we? And it's very hard then to kind of, you know, switch it up and do it differently, really. There's not many people have done it, I don't think.
Whoop, are we still there?
Yeah, I thought Bryan was gonna, you know, take over. Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry.
This is the least amount Bryan has talked in a very long time.
Well, first off, I'm just happy that you knuckleheads are actually asking questions this time.
All right, okay. So they're normally.
Well, we're interested.
Okay.
Well, we're interested.
Yeah.
Rick, I got to tell you, it's an honor that you're on the show, and you're starting your U.S. tour January 21st at Las Vegas. Everybody can find out where you're headed at rickastley.co.uk. And I can't wait for the weather to warm up so Rick Astley can come to Chicago, and Dave, Jeff, and I, and probably even my mom will be standing out back of the venue with a sign that says, "Please give us free tickets."
I'm telling you, that is happening. You're in the front row. That's happening. As long as you bring your mum, you're in the front row. That's happening.
And now Brian's.
All right, Kim, you heard that? You heard that, Kim?
I bet if your mum can't make it, just bring someone who could be your mum. Do you know what I mean?
We'll bring my mom. We'll bring my mom if Brian's mom can't make it.
Yeah. Bring your mums. It's the Bring Your Mums tour.
My wife just walked into the room right now, and she's giving me the "oh hell no, you know I'm coming too" look. So,
okay, it's the Wives and Mums tour. Mum.
All right,
Rick Astley on the Wives and Moms tour. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, thank you for coming on the Nothing Important podcast, and thanks for putting up with all the technical shenanigans earlier. I'm glad we got to you, and we wish you nothing but success.
Thank you very much indeed. Nice to talk to you guys. Thank you, and I'll see you up in Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Rick Astley, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Gentlemen, first off, how cool is that? Rick Astley.
Awesome.
That was actually very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he was he was more than I expected to talk to on the phone.
Yeah. When you said something about like Dave might get technical, and he was like, absolutely. I was just like, I was like 6 to midnight. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna go for it. Yay. Because he probably doesn't get that asked of him a lot. I'm sure he gets a lot of the stupid same questions. I don't know.
Yeah. And you know, leading up to it, I was actually, by the way, great line of questioning from you guys. It was super cool to see you guys get a little bit more involved than you actually usually do. So that was awesome.
Off the cuff, baby.
Dude, I was having so much fun just listening to you guys. Like,
I knew you were. And I knew when you get silent, I was like, oh, Brian's in listening mode. Like,
he stopped paying attention. He's fumbling with his phone or doing something. Yeah.
No, I thought you were listening, just waiting for us to ask another question because you and I were asking so many questions.
Yeah, well exactly.
You know.
I'm so used to being the guy that tries to keep things moving. Like I was just enjoying the moment there for a minute, you know? And it's kind of funny. There was a little bit there where we have a friend. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not sure how cool he is with it, but from time to time will help us book a guest on the show. And I told him earlier today, I said, hey, we're talking with Rick Astley. And he thought it was awesome. So I tried messaging him on Facebook as we were talking. And I said, hey, I'm not bragging, but we're just talking to Rick Astley. No, I'm totally bragging. But I actually put that as a status on my Facebook as opposed to a message to him. And then I'm like, I didn't really want to I wanted to give hints and didn't really want to say for sure that we were recording with Rick Astley until we had the episode mostly done. But then I was scared to hit the X and close out the Facebook and erase it for fear of shutting off the recording. And losing anything, so I'm just like, fuck it. It's just gonna be up, and people know we do this bullshit anyway.
There's a little thing in the corner you can hit, and it's called delete post. I do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I just didn't want to take the chance. So anyway, super cool dude. He seemed really open to it, and on a personal note, it makes me really happy that one, I don't know if we're gonna keep it in the show, but he took a couple seconds to talk to my wife, and two. I loved personally how happy he was that we used his lyrics as the vows for our wedding.
and a little creeped out. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. Little column A, little column B there.
But that's okay. That's what we're trying to do. Ride the fine line. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to also check us out on the Better Call Saul podcast. It's All Good Man. You can find us at itsallgoodman.com. Please make sure that you are sharing these episodes, that you are reviewing these episodes, that you are subscribing to us on iTunes. Make sure that you're hitting up the website, nothingimportantpodcast.com. Dave, thank you so much. Our journey tonight has been a long one. Have fun editing this one down, my friend.
Oh, God. I'm at 88 minutes right now.
Mine's in 2 separate files because I stopped recording for a while. Yep. So figure that one out.
Jeff, thank you for doing Jeff on the street while we were waiting for Rick Astley to call.
Awesome. Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
And yeah, we're just going to keep getting the good guests. We got some great people coming up. So, Dave, you can stop recording now.
Be sure to follow Nothing Important online at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Find us on iTunes, on Twitter at NotImportantPC, and you can also find us on Facebook. Nothing Important is recorded with help from Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. Thanks for being awesome.